Good day and welcome. I'm Rick, a man of history and your guide to the past. Today we're going back to the Middle Ages for a visit with our taste buds as we make a tart in Ember Day. But first though, a quick aside. What is an Ember Day? Well, a modern translation of an Old English poem reads, "Fasting days and emberings be, Lent, Whitsun, Holyrood and Lucy." You're probably most familiar with Lent, a period of fasting and giving up rich food over Easter, but there were 4 holy days or periods of fasting throughout the year. Ember Days were traditionally the Wednesday, Friday and Saturday, following St. Lucy's Day on the 13th of December, the first Sunday in Lent, Pentecost, also called Whitsun, and Holy Cross Day, or Holyrood, on the 14th of September. Though they're rarely all observed today, in the medieval period they were a really quite important part of the calendar. Aside from fast and abstinence, their purpose was to thank God for the gifts of nature, to teach men to make best use of them in moderation, and to assist the needy. Importantly for us, fasting days, and there were plenty of them throughout the medieval and early modern periods, meant no eating meat rather than going completely without food, or not eating and drinking during daylight hours as Muslims do during Ramadan. Ember Day tart then has no meat, which is handy for me because I'm a vegetarian, but it's not cheap peasant food. It's something that is suitable to greater tables of the great and good, as well as those of more humble origins. The recipe I'm using is taken from the earliest cookbook in English we have, A Forme of Cury, which just means a way of cooking. This was written at the end of the 14th century for the King of England. I'll include details in the information below and a few translations and alterations to the recipe that's found in that book. These account, at least in part, for some of the ingredients I have to hand, but also for my personal tastes and preferences, something that you can do when you're translating medieval food too. However, enough from me. Let's hand over to an expert, get into the kitchen and get cooking. A Forme of Cury says, "Take and parboil onions and herbs, press out the water and chop them small. Take bread and pound it in a mortar and temper it with egg, do thereunto butter, saffron and salt and raisins corinth and a little sugar with fine powder, and bake it in a shell and serve it forth." If you aren't familiar with all those ingredients, don't worry, I will reveal all throughout this. There are a few different ways you can interpret this recipe and different ways people make their Ember Day tart. I'm going to use onions and herbs. I'm using 2 types of fresh parsley. I'm going to use breadcrumbs made from old bread, but I've already got them made, butter and egg, and I'm going to use spices. Now my spices are well, saffron is called for. Saffron is of course a very expensive spice, along with salt and sugar. I'm actually using a fairly refined modern sugar, I do apologise for that. Along with a fine powder. You might know it as sweet powder or powder douce, which is a mix of spices individual to each cook. For today I'm using ginger and nutmeg and cinnamon. And that's all just going to be ground up. I'm going to use a knife blade and I'm going to grind it in a mortar to make it a fine powder. Now, if you were making this as a poorer person, you might add other herbs to give you different flavour, more flavour. Spices are very expensive, and it's only the very wealthy that are likely to have such a fine array. Finally, the recipe calls for raisins corinth. It's a type of currant or raisin. You can use either, but because I am not a great fan of them, and because I have some blackberries gathered from my garden, I'm going to use those to give extra sweetness and flavour to what should be a rather lovely tart. Now the recipe tells us to take and parboil onions and herbs and press out the water and chop them small. So this is where most of the actual cooking really is going to be done. The rest of it is preparation and then putting it in the oven. What I'm going to need is a pot of boiling water. Well, I have a pot, I'm going to get it boiling. Then I'm going to add that peeled and quartered onions and chopped herbs. Once that's all in there and it's simmering away, it just needs to simmer for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I take it off the heat, I drain it. If you are, however, making a larger meal, don't pour the water away. Instead, use it as a basis for some stock or soup or stew, or to cook other vegetables in. Remember, you really want to reuse things as much as you can. Get the most value from your labour. Next, we take bread and pound it in a mortar and temper it with egg. Do thereto butter and saffron and salt and raisins, corans, and a little sugar with fine powder. So you need to make your breadcrumbs, ideally before you start, and I have mine here. Old bread pounded in a mortar is great, or you might prefer to use a Ziploc bag and a rolling pin. I actually bought mine because I'm feeling very lazy today. Mix your breadcrumbs with the cooked onion with butter. Got about 75 grams here, with eggs, 8 eggs, and with your spices. So I'm going to get the spices ready now. As you can possibly see with this lovely steam rising, I've got my parboiled onions and the herbs in there, the parsley in there. So I'm just going to mix it all together right in this bowl, and then it's ready to put in the pastry tin and serve. Well, once you've got your mix all ready, what you need to do is, we are told, bake it in a shell and serve it forth. So we're going to add our lovely mix to our shell cases. You can make your own, or get pre-made short crust pastry, or buy pre-made tart cases. I've, well, made a not very good effort to add a shell casing here. I'm afraid my pastry's failed a little bit this morning. But it will still make a very, very tasty dish. So all I'm going to do is fill the pie shell with the filling. Well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And as you can see, my tart is complete, it's ready, and it's smelling lovely. You do need to make sure that the eggs are properly cooked in this. You don't want to eat raw eggs or serve raw eggs to anybody. But this is ready to go. It just needs about 15 minutes to cool. So I'm going to cut a slice and then we can give it a taste. Oh, isn't that looking lovely? So I'll give that 15 minutes and then we'll give it a sample. Well, as you can clearly see, this tart is closer to a quiche than to a sweet pudding, but it's good and fairly straightforward recipe to try, and you can alter the herbs and spices, use raisins or currants or both or neither as you choose, so you can really customize it to its taste buds. However, the big question is, how does it taste? Pretty good, I would say. I think the next time I make it, I'll put some pepper in as well though. If you do make it at home and it's great picnic food, let me know how it went. As always, however, if there's another part of our shared past that interests you, or a topic or theme which you'd like me to address, please tell me in the comments below. If you'd like to try other tastes of the past though, let me know and I'll see what I can do, or check out some of my other videos. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter or on Instagram. Meanwhile, if you like this video, please like it. If you find it interesting, please share it. And if you'd like to join me again in the past, please subscribe for more. So until next time, stay safe, stay happy, and I'll see you soon. Take care.